And welcome to the 10-Minute Life Coach. My name is Jay Clifton Payne. I'm a business strategist and a personal development teacher, and I present this podcast with a very simple mission. It goes about 10 minutes worth of content, and it gives you something that you can take along and implement in your life for business or for personal development as quickly as possible. That's pretty much simple. We record about 10 minutes of content, 2 minutes on the top end, on the back end for some salesy stuff, and move on with life. And sometimes you get one of these episodes and you can't necessarily apply it to anything instantly because it's something you are already applying. That means the second action for this podcast, it also reaffirms the things that you're doing are doing fairly well and hopefully going very well for you. Today's podcast is going to be, once again, a very simple one. We're doing some tweaking with some of the technical things and some of the way things are formatted, although most people won't really see the real difference, won't really get the real feel of it. But we're trying to do some different things to make sure that we're always on the constant improvement bandwagon. And that's exactly what we're talking about, because we're doing that and highlighting that, is constant improvement. It is a very simple concept that sometimes gets really messed up in the work. Now, when you really think about constant improvement, you really think about being able to be in the moment and seeing where things are and how you're performing, how you're not performing, and how well you could be doing if you did certain things. Being able to kind of see where you are in the moment and view how you can improve by doing the adjustments is the first part of constant improvement. It's being aware that you can always do a little bit better or a little bit different or make something a bit more convenient for yourself or for others. And sometimes it's not even really about the output that's happening. And sometimes it's really just about knowing exactly how well you're doing and whether it really is time to make a few changes for yourself, for the people around you, for the business, for your company, just for the times. You see plenty of different retailers always being hit up nowadays, being hit up very publicly because of social media, because they're doing little changes to their decor. They're doing changes to their logos, doing changes to internal things that don't necessarily mean anything to the actual end product, but sometimes the marketing that goes along with it. There are changes to various mascots and various things that go along the lines of just evolving with the times. The Burger King went from a long time ago an actual clown like Ronald McDonald to a weird guy wearing a weird big head that got a lot of attention because it was just so odd. Things like that. And that's just a change with the times. And people got weird with it, but it stuck with Burger King, and that's what they use every so often. He's not a big part of their branding promotions these days, but every so often they will bring the king back out just for some sort of special thing. Constant improvement comes with the ability to realize that there's always something you can do to change, or maybe a reason to change it even before you're ready to change. It may be a sign of the times or an upcoming trend that is catching on. You can catch on to it early and make advantage of that early adopter stages if you get onto it in the right time. Now, the other part of constant improvement is actually doing some actual work to constantly improve, knowing that the improvements that need to be done have to be done and must be implemented correctly. Now, there's not to say there won't be any bumps in the road. There won't be any issues with getting things done and doing new things, trying new things, implementing new things, and people that were on the bandwagon for you as you were before. But as soon as you say there must be a change in something, all of a sudden they just aren't quite exactly ready to sail on that new ship. You will find in the process of improvement, constant changes, constant upgrades, that you'll have to downgrade or actually get rid of various people, various places, various platforms, various procedures in the process. A good example of this is the New England Patriots, the football team that just won recently another Super Bowl championship. And they've done it on a stretch of about 17 years with the same coach and quarterback, that being Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Tom Brady, of course, very famous for being drafted late in the rounds for the draft, getting his shot to play after the star quarterback was hurt early in the season, taking over from there. And from there, becoming essentially being argued as one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the game of NFL football. That didn't happen until he got that one shot, and that catalyst didn't happen until the new coach came in with the previous coach implanting the previous guy in the quarterback spot. But the reason why the Patriots have been so great for so long is that the longevity of the two people that are kind of running the show, the coach and the quarterback, they've always had a way to make interchangeable parts and pieces of players on the field. When somebody, even though they may seem to be in their prime or slightly at decline, doesn't quite fit the scheme, and there's another person they can bring in who is right on this cusp of making that spot or just as good as the other guy, they'll make a switch. They make no one a star except for Tom Brady and the guys that Tom Brady wants to make into stars. There are various pieces, various players who get a lot of publicity, lots of them get a lot of attention throughout the games, throughout various seasons. But that window of opportunity doesn't last very long, a couple seasons, and then they can get replaced, they can get relegated, they can get moved on. The New England Patriots have been a very successful team, winning 7 Super Bowls in the last couple of years, 6 for this one quarterback here, Tom Brady. And because of that, because they've been able to upgrade and change as needed, they're always dealing with a constant improvement, always looking to tool things, make things better, always looking for a new guy to replace an old guy, always looking for a slightly new scheme to replace something that's gotten kind of tired. So the two main pieces to constant improvement is being able to have a view of needing to improve and being able to actually implement the improvements so that they are actually successful. The hardest part of that is dealing with the things that don't work anymore or aren't working anymore for choice and moving on from that. As I said earlier, if you're going to move on with constant improvements, that might mean bringing in new people, bringing in new processes that clash with old people and old processes, especially if the improvement you're doing is a radical thought process change from what you've been doing before. Along the way, some people will adjust and adapt. Some people will actually grow with the changes. Some people won't be able to keep up with the changes, and some people will fight you tooth and nail when a change occurs. And it's hard to say those people have to go, but you have to evaluate what the change you're trying to implement will do. Sometimes those people fighting you are giving you great reasons to not implement the change. Maybe there are some issues along the lines. There will be some unintended consequences that they are seeing or they are at least feeling may happen, and you have to know about these things before you get there. Sometimes they're just old school and don't like to do things a new way. And while you can't just be a big person to say, I kick everybody to the curb who doesn't want to follow along, sometimes change is just inevitable. Sometimes change is just going to happen because it's going to happen. Sometimes you're being forced to change because of conditions. If a squirrel is looking for nuts in a place that has always had nuts, then all of a sudden there's a drought and then there's not as many nuts there. The squirrel has to find another place to go looking for nuts. And that's just how nature works. If he doesn't, then he's stuck in a place that's not going to feed him for very much longer, will not sustain him and his family. Well, sometimes change is just going to happen and you have to deal with it. So being on a constant track of change is a great way to make sure you're ahead of the curve and not stopped by a weird factor in the conditions that makes you change and forces you to change when you're not ready. But that also means making sure that the people you're working with and procedures you have going on are capable of adjusting to the change. Change is not easy in any sense. Doing something different is always difficult. Just try brushing your teeth with your different hand, your offhand, for a while, and you'll see just how weird it feels just to do something as simple as change the hand motion that you're used to doing something in. Change is going to happen, whether you like it or not, in many cases, and being on a path of constant change, constant renewal, constant improvement to make sure that you're always on the front end or pretty tight to where the front end of change is to keep yourself ahead of the game is a great way to make sure you are working towards that personal development or professional development key that will keep you on top of your game at work and in life. And thank you once again for joining us for the 10-Minute Life Coach podcast. As we said, simple 10 minutes worth of content, something you can take along with you and do great things with basically right now. But we hope you sit around for another 2 minutes or so as we do all the salesy background stuff. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. For more information about this podcast, you can go to its website, 10minutelifecoach.com. We've done some fairly recent improvements to the site. Hopefully it's cleaner, it's crisper, and much more mobile responsive, which is what we're really working for there. So you can find information about the podcast, the history of the podcast, and links to various numbers of pod-catching services that you may enjoy, you may use to get it at your favorite place. So unless you like it at the website, it still will be there every single week as well. More information about me and my other projects, you can go to my main website, jclevelandpayne.net, which also is getting some very needed improvements, more than just a touch of paint this time. Some real work on making that website work much better for you and getting information about what's going on and what we can do for you. We, the entire group I work with, for you as well. To contact me, you can do that by email, and I'll give you two email addresses. One is the business email address, info@jclevelandpayne.net, and also jclevelandpayne@gmail.com. That one is a bit more spammy. That one is basically my email I've been using for about 6-7 years. It's my main bucket of all, but my catch everything email. But I go through that multiple times a day looking for things, and if you really, 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 really need to get to me very quickly, drop it in there, put something urgent in the subject line, and I'll get to it and get back to you as quickly as possible. The most important thing I can say for any of these podcasts that I do or any project I do in general is thank you, because without you to help, I can't even help myself trying to help people. I need ideas, I need issues, and I need real problems to solve, or otherwise I'm just wasting a lot of people's time, including my own. So thank you so much for being there and asking for things, needing things, sometimes not even asking for things, just accepting what we're offering up there, and, of course, offering up plenty of feedback on the way. You can always send us some feedback via whatever podcatcher you use for this podcast, or via the emails, and let me know what we're doing well, what we're doing not so well, and what we can improve or get rid of. In the meantime, we'll be recording another one of these things very soon, and you'll get them every single week for a very quick dose of wisdom for your work, for your play, for whatever it does to make your day go better, and the 10-Minute Life Coach.